some friends of ours invited us for a day sail on San Francisco Bay. We both realized that this was something we'd like to do.
And so I went back to the yacht brokers that I knew who had purchased all my boats from, and they had a picture of a small fleet of classic racing yachts on the wall. And I pointed to that and said, we want a boat like that.
It was 2010, which was the bottom of the market, so we had our pick of just an extraordinary range of beautiful old boats to look at.
And the next thing we knew, we were flying to Newport to look at half a dozen boats. But frankly, after we saw Dorade, we were just going through the motions. We had already made our decision.
It was several weeks before we could even come back to Newport to go for a sail aboard her. And it was really only at that point that we realized that Dorade was not a boat that we were going to take back to San Francisco Bay and sail the two of us alone. So we had failed in that mission altogether. Instead, what we realized was that she's not even really meant for coastal racing. Matt came up with his crazy idea, which was to restore the boat not just so she looked pretty and could sit on the dock, but so that she was sturdy and robust enough and prepared to race across the ocean again. The goal would be to repeat all of her early ocean races from the 1930s where she had been victorious. So the transatlantic race, the fastnet race, the Bermuda race, and the Transpac race, which is 8,000 nautical miles of racing. But we did embark on a 13-month restoration. And then in the winter of 2012, we took her down to the Caribbean and did a series of regattas down there that were sea trials for the boat.
Well, we won. But winning has a lot to do with having a good boat, having a good crew, and having a lot of luck. And we were fortunate enough that we had all three. But we had a crew member on board who's also a rider who wrote a blog, and the blog became very popular. And it was simply, sailing Dorade is like dating Marilyn Monroe. And that was because when we were on the race course, all these other boats, the crew would be all on the rail taking pictures of Dorade.
What it taught us was that everybody else is out there to win too. And we really needed to redouble our efforts, or at least beat the performance of Dorade from back in the 30s. So we were kind of competing against the boat itself from the 1930s. Matt sat down with some of the smartest people in modern racing, including Stan Honey, who basically owns the Transpac race, and talked to them about what they thought it would take for this boat to actually win. And what that meant is that we needed to transition to a crew that was primarily professional, and that's what Matt did.
Going out on long ocean races was just too serious a business. We had to build a crew that was a team, just like any other winning team, nurturing that crew and training together so that we could perform well.
I think Matt has a real skill for bringing people together, keeping them going past all kinds of obstacles, and boy, have there been lots of them, and never giving up. I think most people would have given up long before he ever got out on the race course with this boat.
I can't really speak to where my drives and goals come from. I can just tell you that I am very definitely goal-driven and performance-driven. And I really only have one skill, and that's being able to build teams.
Dorade was designed in 1929 by Owen Stephens, launched the following spring. The construction was supervised by his younger brother, Rod, And they actually were staked the money by their parents and grandparents because, as you know, the Great Depression, they sailed to Bermuda in 1930. They came in first overall as amateur crew to finish, but they learned a lot of things in that race. The whole boat was overpowered. They also discovered that it was really stuffy and hot down below, which is when they came up with the idea for the Dorades, which are these kind of very ingenious little vents that siphon water off onto the deck so you don't get water down below, but they bring fresh air down below. They entered the transatlantic race, one of the most serious competitions of the era. The other people in that race were people like the Roosevelts and the Vanderbilts with professional crews, and here were these kids. I mean, they were 21 and 22, and they were taking along all their college buddies as crew. Olin and Rod wowed the entire yachting world with their accomplishment winning the 1931 transatlantic race, and the orders started to pour in. So it was the start of this incredible history. I loved the fact that it was built by a couple of boys who were novices, kind of like us, and that they kind of learned about the ocean and ocean racing and sailboats through Dorade. And that's definitely been my journey on the boat. This award is really an endorsement of what an entire community is doing to bring back these wonderful vessels, whether it's graduates of the International Yacht Restoration School who are being trained in sort of traditional practices.
I think the award is more for the boat and the crew, and that's who it really recognizes.
It's really much bigger than this boat and our effort with this boat. And I think both Matt and I are committed that Dorade every year will go and do a major ocean race. Now, maybe when we're 95 and 98, we won't be on board, but we're committed to making sure that this boat keeps doing what it does best.
So Dorade is looking for new adventures and new seas to cross and compete in. The theory that she belongs in the ocean, racing, doing what she was born to do, has proved to be true.
Olin was a very humble person, but I would hope that what we're doing would make him proud.